In June of 1776, the Second Continental Congress appointed a committee to draft a formal Declaration of Independence. At this time, the 13 colonies in Great Britain had already been at war with each other for over a year. Although declaring independence was a controversial act that not all members of Congress agreed with, John Adams stated that independence had already been declared by Parliament with the Prohibitive Act in February 1776, which established a blockade of American ports and declared American ships to be enemy vessels. Congress was further pressured to declare independence by Thomas Paine's political pamphlet, Common Sense, released in early 1776. Paine's political treatise helped ignite public support for independence by arguing that all monarchies were inherently corrupt. Further exacerbating the issue, delegates to the Congress were not even sure if they held the authority from their colonies to create a Declaration of Independence. On May 15, in his preamble explaining the causes for the Declaration, John Adams wrote that it is necessary that the exercise of every kind of authority under the said crown should be totally suppressed, because King George refused reconciliation and had hired foreign mercenaries to fight the colonies. This was a very radical thought at the time, yet it was passed by a majority in the Congress. Also on May 15th, Richard Henry Lee of Virginia proposed a resolution stating that these united colonies are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is, and ought to be, totally dissolved. Opponents of the Declaration argued that it was premature, and procuring foreign aid should be a priority, but proponents wisely counterstated that foreign governments would not interfere with an eternal British Civil War, and a Declaration of Independence was necessary to gain their aid. On June 10th, Congress decided to postpone a decision on Lee's resolution for 3 weeks, because the delegates from Pennsylvania, Delaware, New Jersey, Maryland, and New York were still not sure of their authority to vote for such an unprecedented action, and needed to correspond with their home colonies. In the interim, Congress concluded that a committee should be formed to create a Declaration of Independence in case Lee's resolution was approved. On June 10th, a committee of 5 was appointed by Congress. Included on the committee was John Adams of Massachusetts, Benjamin Franklin of Pennsylvania, Thomas Jefferson of Virginia, Robert R. Livingston of New York, and Roger Sherman of Connecticut. Although the committee, including Jefferson himself, wanted Adams to write the Declaration, Adams assigned the task to Jefferson, who, being from the large state of Virginia, would give the document credibility in Congress. Also, Jefferson was known to be a masterful and poetic writer. Over the next 17 days, Jefferson wrote the Declaration with input from the other members of the committee. They presented a final copy to Congress on June 28, 1776. Congress spent the next 2 days editing the document. Jefferson was quoted as saying Congress had mangled his draft. Over several days, Congress made a few changes in the wording and deleted nearly a quarter of the text, most notably a passage critical of the slave trade, changes that Jefferson resented. The resolution was put to a vote on July 1st. For the document to have any real power, it was thought that a unanimous vote was necessary, lest the colonies look divided. Pennsylvania and South Carolina voted against. New York abstained because they did not have permission from their home constituency to vote yes, and Delaware was split. The other 9 delegations voted for the Declaration. Pennsylvania was one of the last holdouts to vote for independence. John Dickinson feared that a Declaration of Independence would not strengthen the colonies, but expose the soldiers to additional cruelties and outrages. He also felt that the Declaration would unite rival parties in Britain against the cause of the colonists. On July 2nd, South Carolina reversed its position and voted yes. John Dickinson and Robert Morris abstained from voting, allowing Pennsylvania to vote yes. The tie in Delaware was broken by the arrival of a 3rd delegate, Caesar Rodney. New York, still with no word on their authority, abstained from voting, giving Congress the unanimous vote that they had sought. The document includes 5 parts: the introduction, the preamble, the indictment against George III, the denunciation of the British people, and the conclusion. The introduction affirms that the colonies are in fact dissolving their political ties with Britain. and will explain their reasons for doing so in this document. The preamble begins with one of the most famous lines in the English language. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This section asserts that a people are justified to overthrow a government when that government tramples the natural rights of its citizens. The indictment section documents the repeated injuries and usurpations of the colonist rights by King George III. The denunciation reminds the British people that they were complicit in the king's injustices to the colonies. The conclusion restates the necessity to dissolve all political relationships between Britain and the colonies. After the conclusion, the document was signed by 56 members of the Congress on July 4, 1776. These men knew that by signing the document, they were committing treason, and thus, should the colonies lose the war, they were likely to lose their money, property, and most likely their lives. Legend has it that John Hancock, President of the Congress, after signing the document, stated, "We must now all hang together," to which Benjamin Franklin replied, "Yes indeed, we must all hang together, or most assuredly we will all hang separately." The Liberty Bell was rung to announce the first public reading of the Declaration of Independence in Philadelphia on July 8, 1776. Jefferson had written the document with the intention that it should be performed yearly in towns and cities across America. Since the creation of the Declaration of Independence, it has influenced other declarations in places such as France and many Latin American countries. It was also used by abolitionists to criticize the institution of slavery, and by suffragettes to argue for women's suffrage. In conclusion, this important document represents not only American liberty, but the hopes and dreams of any person who values freedom. Here are some questions that you should reflect on before class tomorrow. Firstly, describe why some delegates were opposed to a Declaration of Independence. Second, declare your own independence from something, following the same format as the United States Declaration of Independence. It needs an introduction, preamble, indictment, denunciation, and conclusion. Make sure you state your case clearly and rationally. Lastly, perform your own internet research and come in with further reasons why Thomas Jefferson was a good choice to write the document. Do not use the reasons given in this flip lesson. Good luck, and I will see you all in class tomorrow.